What's up, YouTube? So today I'm going to do a video on the most asked question I always get on my channel, especially after my breeding videos, is what is cool down? Why do people cool down their reptiles? What does it do? What's the point of it? So today we're going to discuss it a tiny bit. I am no by means an expert. This is just how I interpret why people people who breed reptiles do it, and why I tend to kind of do it in a way, not fully, but in a way I kind of do it. So this is usually the second part of breeding. People will cool down their temperatures, which I'm not going to do because I'm way past this part right now this season. But what they would literally do is they would just turn down their day and nighttime temperatures down. So this is at 97, which makes the tub about like 89, anywhere between 88 and 90 degrees. So the hot spot's at 90, 80, anywhere between 87 to 90. Usually. Then after, when I'm gonna cool them down, I slowly cool them down. I lower the temperatures down maybe a degree, a half of a degree to a degree a day for like over maybe like a week and a half. So instead of this being say 96, after the 7 to 10 days it'll be at 86, which would make the hot spot in the tank be closer to 80, not 90. So they're physically getting colder. It's not, some people go really crazy and they put them in a room with no heat that's like at 65, 70 degrees. They keep them like that for a couple months, then take them out. They pretty much hibernate the reptiles. I don't fully do that. I just do 10 degrees. It's enough to cool them down. And I guess to explain the reason why we cool down reptiles. And so this is a male, and he's done breeding. He's not breeding anymore. He only bred 1 year. He's just a pet now. He's a male, but we're gonna act like he's a female because this is the easiest tub to pull out and show. So the reason why a lot of people who breed reptiles cool down the reptiles is to try to simulate nature, pretty much. So in the wild, when it starts getting cold in the wild, when they know that the warmer season, the spring season's next, so they're gonna start to slow down. They're gonna stop eating for the most part. They're gonna get less food. Since they're colder, they need the heat to digest their food. I lost what I was saying. So yeah, so it'll cool down. So then while it's getting colder, they're gonna start ovulating. It's that time of the season. They're gonna start to ovulate, start to build some eggs, hopefully find a mate, to get her actual pregnant and fertilize the eggs. But in the very beginning, they're just they're in the building process. So they're pretty much getting ready to go off food, to not move much, just to get ready for that springtime where they can actually lay their eggs. So in captivity, we just lowered the temperatures on the hot spot, which will just naturally kind of, I guess, simulate the same experience that we get in the wild, where it gets colder. Then they know it's getting ready for them to start building eggs and producing eggs and laying eggs. There's a couple things I do want to mention when they're, like I kind of mentioned already, when it's colder, you want to make sure they don't digest food as well, since they use the heat, the bottom heat, to help digest their food. So you don't want to be feeding them while you have them cooling down. You also don't want to feed them about 2 weeks before you cool them down, because you want to make sure all the food is out of their body. They poop everything out. The only thing you want to keep in the cage is keep the cage clean. You want to make sure the cage is really sterilized, because they're also more immune, or yeah, they're less immune to getting diseases and whatnot, and getting sick while they're colder and they're not as warm. Which is the biggest reason why I don't like cool them down too much. And you also want to keep fresh water like you usually do every day. Other than that, you want to literally cool down the temperatures, throughout time. Notice the poop, clean their cage, sterilize it, give them water, close the tub, and you just leave it there. Now what I do is, instead of changing the water every single day, I try to do normally. I'll open the cage maybe every 2 to 3 days. Pop it open like slow as I can. With as wide as, least amount of space open on the tub. I'll pull the dish out, replace it, put the water in. I'll take a look under like this. Alright, she seems cool. I accidentally locked my phone, so it ended the video. So yeah, so she seems cool, she seems fine, she seems healthy, she's not showing any signs that she's sick or anything. I'm gonna close this baby right back up. leave it there for another 2, 3, 4 days. Open up again, change the water, check on her, and then you're done. And you do that process until you decide to not cool them down anymore. I guess I should have also mentioned that in the beginning of the video, I should have mentioned it. Not everybody cools down the reptiles. Everyone does it different. They have a different way. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming you're trying to find out some information about cooling. Don't just look at this video. Look up other people who have massive millions of followers and stuff and see what they do. They do stuff different. This is what works for me, so make sure you do what works for you. You can do a combination of what people do, which is kind of what I did. I kind of took stuff that people who didn't cool down reptiles and the people who completely cool down reptiles and kind of did in between, what I felt comfortable with, and it seems to work out. So with that being said, so the cooling down process pretty much just helps them start ovulating, build follicles, pretty much get to know that, okay, breeding season's coming up. They're going to go off food naturally to start building up, those follicles and eggs. After they cool down is when they'll start hitting the food real hard again. But that's later. So I cool down my reptiles for about 30 days. I've done 2 weeks, I've done a month, I've done somewhere in between each season. I think 2 weeks for me was enough for I felt comfortable that the reptiles weren't going to get sick and that they weren't eating, they were going to lose too much weight. So I got to warm them up quicker, start feeding them quicker, and I've never really had a problem with them not breeding, you know what I mean, not actually laying eggs or anything. Except the gecko, but that's a whole different story. I've always had reptiles, geckos, and ball pythons just go whenever I've attempted to do it. And I guess that's pretty much it. I wanted to make this video pretty quick because it's really not that complicated. I guess the quickest overview is you literally just want to cool them down if you decide to do that, and it's just to make sure that you try to replicate nature, that they kind of go through the process easily. People don't do this, and when you put the male in with the female, nature will just take its course, and they can still get pregnant, still lay healthy eggs, and you still can get babies from that way. But I just do 2 weeks just so they kind of replicate nature a little bit. It's colder, they understand, okay, it's getting cold, it's time to get going. And that's pretty much the reason. The one thing I also want to say at the end of this video is always make sure your snake or reptile, whatever it is 100% healthy. If you think it might have a respiratory infection, or it might have mites, or it might be sick or something, never cool down a reptile unless you're 100% confident that it is going to be 100% healthy. It's not going to lose too much weight. It's not going to get sick or get worse from being sick if it already was sick, because the cool down kind of does put a lot of stress on them. They're not as warm. They're not going to want to be as active. They're not going to eat as much or at all, so they're going to have less energy. So you really want to make sure your reptile is super healthy and ready to, get cooled down and breed. And if they're not ready to get cooled down to begin with, they're not ready to lay eggs anyway. They shouldn't be laying eggs to begin with. So that's pretty much it. I guess after the cool down is when you make up for the loss of food, and I usually pound them with food. But yeah, that's literally it, guys. It's just lowering the temperature slowly over time. Then warming them back again the same way, slowly over time, till they're back up to 98 degrees or whatever you keep your thermostat at. And that's pretty much the cool down process. Like I said, everyone does different amount of times, different temperatures. I would just play around and see what works for you. I wouldn't get too cold, that's for sure. And I wouldn't keep my reptiles too hot. But other than that, you guys should be good to go. That's the cool down process. It's real simple. Here's my little notes. I have a lot of notes, but a lot of this shit you don't even really need notes for. It's just basic nature, I guess. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys have, I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you're thinking about breeding reptiles, and hopefully you have a good year. And you get some cute little babies like this guy, which I didn't produce, but he's still a baby. I bought him like a baby, but get some of them. Hopefully you guys have a good year. Thanks for checking out the video, and hopefully it wasn't too confusing. It's kind of one of those things you kind of just have to do to understand. But that's pretty much it. You just cool them down so you get nice little babies like this. Some people who, just to keep rambling, some people who actually do cool down their snakes might have tried it the other way, not cooling down, and didn't have success. So then they went to the cool down method. You could always try to do that. Just try it without cooling down 1 year. If it doesn't work out, you have next year. There's no reason ever to rush breeding reptiles. There's no reason to rush. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys, and I will check you guys out or see you guys in the next video.